Yes, sir.
Okay. Welcome to the select board meeting for Monday, May 3rd, 2021, 7 o'clock. Oh, I don't have to do this many more times. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and his March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the select board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines can be retrieved from the AG's webpage. The town will persevere to use conference call capabilities regularly for other parties to listen in and participate accordingly. If not possible, we will post on the town's website an audio recording as soon as possible after the meeting. All meetings of the Board of Selectmen are recorded, and if anyone's recording the meeting, please make it known to the chair. Hope this is your last meeting.
Well, not forever, but you know.
So you get the
True.
pledge tonight. It's your
Oh,
call.
all right, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, I hope you're going to make Peter do it first next week for his first meeting.
Darn tootin'. Okay. So first is public comments. If anybody has anything they'd like to address to the select board, now's your chance. Welcome, Mr. Banish. Sergeant, Lieutenant.
Looks like he's got a pretty good fire going in his backyard right now.
Well, burning season's over. Call that in. Okay.
He's cooking a hot tub.
First, we'll acknowledge payroll warrant number 2124 in the amount of $231,903. And I need a motion for the open session minutes of our fiscal year 22 budget hearing with FinCom of April 26th and the rest of the select board meeting that was held that night.
Joe Didi will make the motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Great. So first is we have some correspondence from the Rotary Club. They're just letting us know that they are planning to have their concert series kicking off around July 14th. And they've got dates, wow, through all of July and August.
I think that was a lot of concerts that they had to delay from last year too. So they had the money.
Correct. And their steak roast is going to be September 15th. And they are planning to have their vocational service recognition in October. Not the day of the parade, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, I think they're looking for a donation also.
Are they really?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to make that in the form of a motion?
I believe I'd make it a form of motion. We give them the same amount that we gave them last year or the year before.
Yeah, the same amount as last year was an easier motion. Last year's fine. Joe, any discussion? Are you seconding the motion?
Yes, Joe Didi will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Great. And next is we need a motion to approve the release of right of first refusal under Mass General Law, Chapter 61A for a sliver of property on 158 Vining Hill Road. I believe that's
James Patrick Coyetts.
Mr. Ayotte, a small piece of property over there.
And I think it was part of the old Christmas tree farm that he had.
Correct. And this looks like it's been held up for a while because this was supposed to be done a while ago, but I guess it had to circulate amongst boards.
That is correct. We have a policy of circulating it to other boards to see if there's a level of interest.
Maybe down below, I'm not sure.
There was no interest.
Okay, so I need a motion to release our right of first refusal for this property.
Joe Didi will make that motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Thank you. And then Next item is a motion to authorize the chair to sign a memorandum of understanding for a provisional backfill. We have one officer who is out for training, and we have an officer. Actually, we have a sergeant who is out on medical leave for a period. So we need to bring in a provisional to cover those shifts until such a time as Officer Parker is back with us.
Joe Didi will make that motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Fox, aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the appointment of Don Day and Kevin Bishop as SPD Reserve Officers effective July 1st. So this, the background that I have on this is that this was originally former Sergeant Day was going to be a auxiliary, but with all the police reform, yada, yada, it's really not tenable. So he is going to come back as a reserve. And Chief Bishop would also like to remain on as a reserve post his retirement as chief. So I would entertain a motion for those appointments effective July 1st.
And will they be on probation for a while, I would hope?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, as
At your discretion, Mr. Didi. How long would you like that to be? 1 or 5 years?
long as the motion that says that Mr. Didi can fire at will either of those two for the remainder of his chairmanship, which would be about 6 months. So, yeah, Joe will make the motion.
Russ Fox will second it.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
That actually will help us quite a bit because you're right, we're going to run into some issues with our short staff on that reserve side.
Okay. In your packet was a proposed summer schedule.
Ah,
So I'll leave this to you to read, and I don't think we have to jump on that toot sweet. I think we're in good shape right now, other than the fact that we are going to meet tonight. We are not going to meet on May 10th. We are not going to meet on May 17th. We are going to have a consent agenda on the 18th ahead of the town meeting. And then our next meeting will be May 24th. Regular meeting will be May 24th. And then we should be in, and then no meeting the 31st because of Memorial Day, but then the next chairman can figure out the rest.
we're comfortable with 6 o'clock for now. Yeah, good. I'm fine. You're fine, Doug? Does 6 work?
It's all good.
That was the I don't care hand. That was like, doesn't really matter, Joe. Done.
No, I mean, it doesn't matter. And once we get back in person, then we're going to have to see how that's all going to shake out. 6, we used to meet at 6, correct?
I think
So
so.
we kind of moved up everything a little bit to 5:30 with it all
Oh,
being remote, but we'll see how it shakes out.
In the winter time, it made sense too.
Correct. Because why? I don't remember. But anyway, okay. So we'll get that on as old business to ratify going forward. The only thing I can potentially see is maybe the August 23rd meeting, but that's a little far in the future for me.
Well, that's okay. Board members will have vacations, so of course you're gonna miss one.
Authorized to post DPW summer help at $13.50 an hour. Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir. So this is a request for summer help. We ask this request every year. I think last year the rates were at the minimum wage. I think they were $12.75 last year.
Yeah.
Minimum wage has gone up since then. So we're looking to post that position and fill two part-time positions over the summer.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion for that.
Joe Didi will make the motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye. So,
Klaus Anderson Road Culvert Replacement Project. Randy?
Yeah, so I think there was a letter that you have looking for the chairman to sign. This is we are submitting the grant application later on this week. We've talked about this in the past, but there's one document that we're looking for the board to sign, which is a letter of match. So as you know, the project requires a 25% in-kind match from town. We can do that utilizing town staff time or a financial contribution. So I'm waiting to hear the final cost estimate from our consultant. Should be getting that in the next day or two. You know, we just want to make sure that we sign this letter so we can include it with the application. It is a requirement. And I'm hopeful that we can utilize most of our required match through town staff time. But if there is a financial contribution, I'll let you know when we get to the point.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion for the chair to sign. I have a draft. The draft of the letter is in your folder. And entertain a motion to have the chair sign.
Joe Didi will make that motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
And Carl, did you hear anything out of the school budget meeting this evening?
No, I did not hear anything from their budget subcommittee. So they're probably just still discussing the issue of the use of the ESSER funds, because there's a question about, even though the governor and the Department of Education said that they could do that and you took a vote on it, there's a question on varying other versions where the state house budget did not necessarily permit it. So that has to be addressed, and it may have to be addressed by a vote of the Senate. So Doug and I reached out to Senator Velas's office and made him aware of it, and to address that issue. Otherwise, it just becomes another, I believe, internal revote by the school on their budget.
And there's a bunch of different ways. Carl and I spoke this afternoon. There's a couple of different ways that the school could overcome that. If they lose the ESSER subsidy, that they could either, you know, potentially look at their E&D to fund that, and then, you know, reprogram the ESSER funds elsewhere, that they, instead of using E&D money for that, but we'll let their finance committee figure it out. I don't think there's anything we need to do at this point.
Right, because both of them could be considered as non-recurring funds.
Correct. Okay. New business this evening. Mr. Fox?
No, sir.
Mr. Didi?
Nothing I'm aware of.
Carl?
No, sir.
We're about to set a new record for the Board of Selectmen, I think, for a meeting that Carl's at. Select Board joint, any been update on the joint meeting with DOT with
Yes, sir.
Westfield?
Yeah, they are, the senator's office did call me in the last couple of weeks about the issue, and they are trying to actively trying to line up some dates now.
Great. I haven't conferred with the chief on the Southwick Hill thing. I still think we're waiting to have a public session on that, right?
Yeah, I think he was finalizing stuff with Ben Coyle. They had to make some other adjustments, but that was the last road to be done, so.
On the regional dispatch, I need to have a conversation with town council this week regarding, see if he got anything back from Westfield Council regarding the proposed IMA. I have not spoken to Tammy of late as far as reopening town hall, but we probably should kick off those discussions in earnest.
Yeah, she's really waiting for us to, you know, get into the green as opposed to being in the red.
I haven't heard anything further from the chief regarding the temporary sergeant recruitment process and the other chief issue or other sergeant issue.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, he is working on that with the, with Labor Council and the, and at some point, if he hasn't already brought it to the union, he will be speaking to them about it.
Okay. Airbnb, the planning board did do that. We can take that off this list, I believe.
Yeah, you had asked for it to be put on when you brought it up last week.
Yep. Okay, so that's done,
So you're done? Okay.
I think. Well, they formed their committee. We'll see who ends up on it. And then we've got to start figuring out, I got to confer with the planning board chair to see what they've discussed as a board, what is their preference to move forward as far as someone to become the new part-time planner. Whether that's going to be an internal posting or an external posting. Any other old business?
No, sir.
Mr. Fox?
I have two things, Mr. Chairman. First of all, the health issue where we were going to have discussions about seeing if we couldn't reach out to get a doctor's office back in the town of Southwick. And I'm just going to throw this out since there is a vacant building for rent or for lease that used to be a doctor's office, that would be possible for the board to consider sending a letter to Trinity Health. I know we have one of their employees in government relations that lives in town, that maybe we could reach out to him.
That's an excellent idea. Okay, we can certainly do that.
Right. The next thing I had, and I brought this up at our last meeting, and I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this, but the article under community preservation, where money's going to the old library. Town council did give us an opinion that basically that they could request community preservation funds. But, you know, if we go back and remember when we were in negotiations of what we wanted to happen to that building, one of the things that we tried to put in there is that the person could not apply for community preservation funds. But town council told us that we couldn't put that in the agreement. In essence, I mean, you know, the gentleman came in with his family, very professional. He's a local businessman, and I respect that. But we made an agreement to accept the proposal of $12,000 plus to sell the library. And in essence, if the town gives another $27,000 worth of tax dollars, we've in essence paid someone to take the library off our hands. And I don't know, I still haven't received minutes of the meetings or an audio of the meeting of the Community Preservation Committee to see if they were aware of the agreement and the purchase price and things like that. Because I from a business standpoint, I never would have agreed to that proposal if I knew somebody was going to come back and get another, you know, whatever it is, X number of dollars from the taxpayers. I mean, I just don't think it's appropriate. I really don't. And I don't know if the board wants to take a position on this and discuss this, but I mean, the community preservation funds, it's not free money, it's tax dollars. So I'll get off my soapbox, but to see what the board wants to do.
Well, I mean, from where I sit, you know, we did the RFP for the library, right? And we got back that proposal. I know that, you know, my memory is not as good as it used to be. I was trying to find minutes of a previous town meeting on another issue, and for the life of me, I can't remember when it was, but I remember very much what happened, but not when. But, you know, as far as this goes, I don't know that. I know he's put a ton of dough into that library. I know and this was one thing that, you know, he had come back to the CPC for. I don't think we can make a blanket statement that this type of CPC funding can or can't be used for, you know, if someone makes a valid application to CPC and they hear it, you know, and I don't know the procedural history of this particular application. I don't even remember. I wasn't part of it and didn't observe that part of the CPC meeting, but I don't know. I think it's, you know, that board, I understand that it's tax dollars. The voters told us that they wanted to elect the CPC members, you know, and they took that out of the hands of this board to put them in charge of that money. And, you know, that's probably the bigger decision to be looked at here, and to say, okay, are these guys being good stewards? Did they review the proposal before they just, you know, put it in front of everybody in front of a meeting and voted on it, right? The old Bob Johnson rule, as I used to call it, right? They used to have a rule that they would at least let people read the proposal before they voted on it, and didn't just preview it the night that they, you know, presented it at a meeting and then moved to a vote. But I don't know. I think that parcel is going to be a gem right there when it's done and put back on the tax roll and put back to use. But you know, I see your point, but I think that the issue lies with the CPC, not with the applicant, because you know, they acted on a valid application there. As far as, that's just my opinion, Mr. Fox.
Well, I see your point, Doug, but the restrictions on the deed was they were to preserve the windows, and they were to preserve certain things. That was all gone over with the historical commission, and it was all spelled out that they would be responsible for that. And I think, you know, again, I haven't been able to get a hold of the minutes or an audio, so I don't know if the full committee was aware of all this, you know, and like you said, made a decision perhaps without not having all the information. Again, I'll be repetitive. I think he's a fine gentleman and a local businessman, and I respect that. But this is, you know, when you look at it, we're giving tax dollars to have somebody take the property off our hands, and I have a problem with this.
Well, I don't know if that was the whole case, right? We sent that out. We had one bid come in. He was gracious enough to go through that whole process. I know we never told him never apply for CPC funds, because we would never say that, because we can't say that. So the opportunity looks like it arose for those windows. He applied for it. And Russ, I hear you. Oh my God, he only paid X, and now, geez, 20,000 is going to restore those windows for the rest of us to look at for the next 100 years. I get that. But he's not the only game, right? In this town, if you preserve land, the property down the street here towards Home Depot, it didn't go through because the state changed the numbers. But in theory, the state was going to pay for that land, and then the town's taxpayer money paid a percentage of that, correct?
Correct.
So what I'm getting at is, so then that land would be in farm, taken off the tax roll, tax money would have been paid for that percentage, and there's no benefit. Preserving the land absolutely there's a benefit, just like preserving this old library in the center of town. So I see your point 100%, Russ. I do see your point, but that's not the only spot in town where, oh my God, taxpayer money might be used for something that doesn't fit comfortably with you. And I understand that. I don't think his intention was ever to buy low and come right back to the CPC. I think it, you know, I had talked to him about the CPC. So did it arise? Sure, it arise that one time, or arose, whatever the hell the right word is. But, you know, here we are. You know, yeah, it's $20,000, which I'm sure we'll make up rather quickly on the tax rolls, as you see what he's doing into that building. But I understand your concerns.
Okay. Any other business in front of the select board tonight? Carl, do you have any other old business?
No, sir.
Well, next week is elections, correct? Carl?
Yes, sir.
So to all the candidates running for office, good luck. And, thank you for those who are running to, to put your name out there and stand for election and serve the town. It's much appreciated. We certainly need more of it. We're going to be coming up on appointments and those things soon. And I'm sure, we'll be interested to hear names and people that have an interest in serving the town outside of the election process if they'd wish to do so. So please, send your letters of interest to the select board. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Joe Didi will make that motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.